Our topic today is the serial killer who sold human barbecue burgers. Bring a cup of tea or your favorite drink and let's get started. In general, humans do not tend to eat their own species, but historically, especially in certain circumstances, such as famines and sieges, people were forced to eat human cannibalism, especially the deceased, to save their lives. The phenomenon also spread to some primitive tribes and religious sects for doctrinal and superstitious reasons, such as the Anasazi tribe in North America and the Indian Ugari sect. As for the hero of our story, he did not kill his victims to eat them, but he was killing them to serve them as fast food to passers-by. Joseph Roy Metheny, nicknamed by the Americans at the time as the Cannibal, meaning cannibal, is considered among the most terrifying and brutal serial killers in the United States of America, as he not only killed and dismembered his victims, but he was doing much more horrible things. Joseph Roy Metheny was born on March 2, 1955 in Baltimore, Maryland, to a simple family of 8, where his father toiled day and night to provide for his family's needs. But one day he was involved in a car accident that led to his death, which left a great impact on the hearts of his children and his wife, who said at the time, "It was not easy for me, especially to provide for the needs of the children, and I did everything I could to keep them." In the 1970s, after serving in the U.S. Army, he was completely separated from his family and drifted into homeless camps, where he slept under bridges. He was also known to hang out with a group of homeless people in an area called Patapsco. He was also known as Metheny in various bars in the South Baltimore area of Washington, where he spent months spending his money on cocaine, heroin, and liquor. He held a steady job as a forklift driver where Joseph Roy was a gentle giant, as described by his friends as intelligent, well-spoken, and well-mannered. After a short period of time, he began to go to places that contained abandoned houses to meet a group of bad friends, and they shared the use of prohibited substances. He even met his wife during that period, and they got married after a short period, who was also participating in the use of drugs. His upbringing seemed somewhat normal. At first glance, he seemed like any reckless teenager drifting with bad friends in the absence of any kind of family control, until that day came that radically transformed his life, and he became a murderer who enjoyed killing people in horrific ways, cooking their meat and selling it to customers in burger sandwiches. The beginning of his criminal career. In July of 1994, after he finished his overtime shift at his job as a truck driver, Metheny returned home to surprise his wife, who took all his possessions and went with their 6-year-old son, only to discover shortly after that she had escaped with her lover and friends who were drug addicts. In one of his trial sessions, Metheny stated, "It was not my problem for her to leave," meaning his wife, "but she took my son with her." He went crazy and became floundering left and right, not knowing what to do and how to take revenge. So he started asking and looking for his wife and child everywhere, and after unsuccessful attempts he was able to find 2 homeless men aged 33 years, Randall Brewer and Randy Pike. He believes that they were in a relationship with the runaway wife, and he found them under one of the bridges, so he lured them and pounced on them like a predatory beast that pounces on his prey. So he raped them and then killed them with an iron axe. And after he finished them, his attention was drawn to the presence of a man who was he fishes in the river near him looking at him, so he pounced on him too to drop him as a third body in the river. This was the beginning of his career in the world of crime. Metheny victims. Joe was not a random killer. He carefully selected his victims and practiced the most terrible types of intimidation with them. For example, in 1995, he lured 2 prostitutes, Kathy Ann Magaziner, 45, and Kimberly Spicer, 26, to his trailer, before eventually stabbing and strangling them to death, then cutting up their bodies, cooking them, and then selling them to his customers as barbecue burgers. In an interview, he is quoted as saying, "I had good sandwiches, and no one could have doubted them or known where they came from. No one would have known the difference between them and pork." After the previous 2 women ran out of food, he decided to lure another one named Rita Kemper, about whom he says that he began to tear her clothes and beat her with incessant laughter from him, and she was crying. But with him turning around for a split second, she managed to escape him through the door. She managed to get through a 10-foot barrier in the outer fence and reach the street to call the police and be arrested. His confessions. Reports say the man, who had said he was ill after his conviction, collapsed in court as he watched the mother of one of his victims, Kimberly Spicer, move. In the 1990s, he murdered Kimberly Spicer, Tony Lynn Ingratian, and Catherine O'Cathy Ann Magaziner, and according to reports, his death sentence for the magazine's murder was overturned in 2000, so he continues to serve a life sentence. The end is in prison. On August 5, 2017, the life of the man who sold his victims' meat sandwiches to the public, and on the air ended at the age of 62. Joe spent about 20 years in the Western Correctional Institution in Maryland, where he had his own cell. Gerard Shields, a spokesman for the Department of Public Safety and Corrective Services, said he was found dead in his cell at 3 a.m., and police said at the time they were investigating how he died. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget subscribe.